professional. Oh, 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 oh. A chance with a professional. With Martin Sobel. A chance with a professional. Oh, 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 oh. A chance with a professional. With Martin Sobel.
Do you think that Baba Obasanjo could be on the street while these Boko Haram people are doing what they are doing?
The objective of the private organization is slightly different from...
Nigeria is the most important country
of education. The collapse of culture in Nigeria. Even with cheating, we can't pass. We've not done enough. There's still more. Join us.
And you never regret that you did.
Peace indeed is an essential ingredient to human existence. If you look around the world, especially since the advent of the social media, peace has become a very essential commodity that is almost impossible to find. So today on the show we shall be focusing on global peace with emphasis on the role of the media in ensuring global peace. My name is Martin Sobel and you're welcome to A Chat to the Professional. My guest today is someone who has actually paid his dues in the media industry, but I shall probably be introducing him after this short break. Please don't go anywhere. I'll be back. My guest today, all the way from Seoul, South Korea, a media mogul and an investment specialist, someone who has actually, like I said in my introduction, paid his dues in the media industry. He is actually the chairman of the board of directors at the Washington Times, among other portfolios. So join me now as I welcome Thomas McDavid. You're welcome to the show. Tom, with your years of experience as a media practitioner, what do you think we can do in today's world to ensure that we have a world where peace reigns supreme?
It's a great question, and even though I've been in the news media business for over 25 years, I almost feel like we're starting over with the incredible changes that have occurred in the industry, especially because of digital technology and the ability of anybody with a cell phone like this to be a publisher. So I think it's an amazing environment that we're in, and it has a lot of potential for both good and a lot of potential for destructive behavior. We're in Seoul, Korea right now, and we've just finished the World Summit 2020. The focus of this whole thing is a global effort, a global network that's multi-sector, that is focused on establishing an environment of peace in a very specific way. It's not just abstract, it's not just philosophical talk, but we're talking about altering how we think and how we behave towards one another. In other words, we bring people from every race, every nation, every culture, and multi-sector, and something knits it all together, and it's kind of an ethos, a deep driving spirit of being one family under God. So I think we'll start there and go to the next point of how does media affect that. Journalism has to be accurate, has to be true. We have launched the International Media Association for Peace. I was honored to guide that and direct that effort. We had almost 500 journalists here from all over the world, and there was a group of several hundred that covered every aspect of this World Summit. And so I think journalism can make a big impact on peace if the mind and heart of the journalist is oriented towards covering news in a manner that is more solution-oriented rather than simply looking at the problems in the world. In a sense, covering the blood and guts of violence as opposed to finding solutions. There's plenty we could talk about there, but I think I'll finish an answer to that question and we can go on.
So I was a part of that inauguration of the International Media Association for Peace, and it was just extraordinary. It was amazing seeing such a number of media practitioners from all over the world come together for a round table. And I'm wondering, looking at it from the perspective of Washington Times, how do we ensure an international standard in this era of fake news driven largely by the social media, to ensure that news coming from the mainstream media, be it print or electronic, is once again respected by the public as an authentic source of information.
Well, I think you're raising a critical issue, and one of the purposes of IMAP, International Media Association for Peace, one of our purposes is to raise the standard of journalism. What does that mean? Well, it means having a standard of quality, of excellence. There's certain classic, basic things that a good journalist does, and when you're faced with a story, you know, if you approach it with integrity, if you get multiple sources, if you develop your story in a manner that really can speak to your audience, not speak above them or below them, it really moves the hearts and minds of your audience and meets their needs, then you have the ability to create a body of work that you can really be proud of. Of course, there's a lot of fake news. There's a lot of self-interest driven agendas in the media. I do things in a certain way to create clicks. Clickbait is what it's called. And sometimes it's prurient stuff, or it's more violent, or it's a hate-filled thing. Our whole approach is starting from the inside out. We have a worldview that's based on the assumption that a human being has sacred value, that the mind and body of a journalist, like any person, if we're united with integrity and we apply our craft with a sense of skill, that we can do things that can really help society. So I think having an effort of education, of symposia, of conferences, of publishing best practices, of awarding and recognizing excellent journalism in certain fields, those are all good things we can do. We passed a resolution, we launched the Media Association, and we're very, very excited about it. We plan to expand it to every country in the world, and we want you to be involved. International Media Association for Peace. And let's tackle these critical problems in our profession.
자, 끝으로 대한민국을 방문해주신 세계 언론인들을 향해 감사의 마음을 담은 하트 모양을 형상화하고 있습니다. 네, 큰 박수 한번 부탁드리겠습니다. 네. 굉장히 좀 다른 곡인데요. 조용하면서도 굉장히 웃잖아. 네.
There were a couple other resolutions, that were reached at the World Summit in Korea, including the inauguration of the International Association for Peace and Economic Development, IAED. And now, how does IAED come into the picture to ensure that economy becomes a driving force in achieving peace? I mean, by that I mean, how can we engage the young ones using the economy to ensure that their minds are positively redirected towards positive thinking or engagement instead of what we experience today, violence all over.
I think it's a fundamental area. It's a critical challenge that various regions in the world play. How does a human being grow to the point where they can generate revenue and provide for their families and have a meaningful life of work and love and family bonds? And that is a critical issue for our civilization in every country and every race. What can we do with World Summit? We have a multi-sector approach to this. It's not just government. We don't believe government alone can solve these problems. Government together with the faith communities, together with the media, together with academic institutions, most essentially with the business community, and also with the cultural community. And so we have various different networks that we've established: parliamentarians, heads of state, academics, media professionals, entrepreneurs and business people, and interreligious. When those different spheres start working together, and when they're motivated with a high-minded purpose to solve critical challenges with the assumption that human beings cannot do this alone. We have tried and tried and tried for centuries. We can't solve the problems on the level of just the intelligence of the realm that has created the problems. That's why we advocate for a God-centered approach. What I mean by that is no matter what religion you are, you have no religion. There's a creator. We just didn't pop into existence. And we have experienced when you bring that mindset to bear, and we trust that there's a divine intelligence, there's a divine love, a sacred love that is embedded in every human being. And you tap that type of mindset, and then you infuse that in your lifestyle and in your craft, your area, whether you're a politician or a business person. And we recognize that sense of value and dignity in every human being. We can begin to communicate. We can begin to do things that one didn't do before. You address the issue of poverty. When a man or a woman grows up, has no job, how do we fix that? Well, it's not a simple issue, but education is essential. Parenting is essential. Community bonds are essential. And we are finding very creative opportunities out there that people have figured out how to solve some of these problems and how to touch the minds and hearts of young people and encourage them to take a healthier path in life. So it's a long-term, more fundamental approach that I see evidence of working. And I think it's exciting to do it, but you can't do it alone.
Thank you. Washington Times is nearly 40 years old. By your assessment, would you say you have realized the dreams of the founder, late Reverend Dr. Moon, in setting up that publication?
Great question. I think so. I think we can always improve. About a year ago, the very reputable marketing research firm Simmons and MRI did a very robust survey in America to evaluate among all the top media companies which are the most trustworthy, because media has a very low level of trust in the American public and around the world. I'm very proud to say that our company, the Washington Times, among all media, television, radio, print, digital, scored as the 10th most reliable company in the country in terms of news content and opinion. In terms of newspapers, we scored number 5. On top was the Wall Street Journal, followed by New York Times, Washington Post, USA Today, and the Washington Times. That's amazing. Among the hundreds of companies that are out there, we're very proud of the fact. Now, why is it that occurred? It's because the Washington Times is proud of its approach of traditional journalism, of being fair and objective, and being unafraid of dealing with any particular story. The opinion columns are sensible, realistic, founded on America's founding values, but they're universal values. And I think that the people of the Washington Times do an outstanding job of trying to get the stories that others won't cover. And that's why it's so widely read in Washington. And I encourage you to check it out, WashingtonTimes.com. And we would love to have you as part of our family of readers.
With the advent of social media and online publications, where do you see the mainstream media in 10 years from now?
If I had an answer to that question, I could be a very wealthy man. So I don't know. It's hard to say. But all we do know is that as long as we stay true to the essential purpose of journalism, we find innovative business ways for diversifying revenue, whether we're relying on digital advertising, print advertising, doing events, consulting, whatever, and we fuel our reporters and hold them accountable to do excellent work, the quality of the news brand can attract people who want to pay for that quality information. And it's not everybody. Our audiences are broad, but that doesn't mean everybody needs to read it. And I think that 10 years from now, inevitably there'll be less print, there'll be more digital, there'll be more mobile, and even beyond mobile, other means of getting media. I think that also to deal with the transformations that will occur in the next 10 years, it's really important to have an eye for innovation, to watch the marketplace, see what's happening, experiment, and have smart collaboration between the business and the content side of the company. I'm really grateful to have a chance to speak to the people that are watching this show, and encourage you again to go to WashingtonTimes.com. We'd love to cover more about Africa and Nigeria, and we see Africa as the highest potential of growth in the world. Economically, socially, culturally, Africa is the mother continent of the planet, and we have great respect. That's why Dr. Hak John Moon and the UPF organization has invested so much time and effort in Africa, doing summits and all kinds of stuff. I look forward to coming again. I was just there a couple of months ago.
Thank you so much, Tom McDavid, for talking to me today. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I chat with a professional. Oh, 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 oh. I chat with a professional. With Martin Zowood. I chat with a professional. Oh, 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 oh. I chat with a professional. With Martin Zowood.
Do you think that Baba Obasanjo could be on the stage while these Boko Haram people are doing what they are doing?
The objective of the private organization is slightly different from...
Nigeria is the most important country
of education, the collapse of culture in Nigeria. Even with cheating, we can't pass. We've not done enough. There's still more. Join us.
And you never regret that you did.
That's the much time would permit on the show Chat to the Professional today. But come next time, God willing, I will also be having another professional of note come inspire you. But till then, I urge you as a media practitioner to report responsibly, do your job in such a way and manner as to encourage global peace. I remain Martin Sobu saying stay blessed, and I'll see you again.
자, 끝으로 대한민국을 방문해주신 세계 언론들을 향해 감사의 마음을 담은 하트 모양을 형상화하고 있습니다.